Greetings and welcome back, everyone, to episode 39 of the Angry Chicken, the Hearthstone podcast. I am Garrett Weinzorl. I am joined today, as I always am, by Willie Dills Gregory and Miss Jocelyn Moffat. Guys, welcome back. I tried so hard. I tried my damnedest to not read Twitter while I was on vacation, but I couldn't.
Would you do that?
I couldn't help it, and I did, and I didn't know people cared so much.
People were angry at you, Garrett.
People were enraged, like a 1-1 chicken that somehow stayed alive.
That was buffed by some sort of a defender, maybe a defender of Argus.
Or a Shattered Sun
people
cleric.
Were pissed. And I think, though, that the people should cut Garrett some slack because he was basing his vacation schedule around my prediction. So it's actually my fault. He thought that there was no way Nax was not coming out on the 15th because Bill said it was.
I definitely don't go to Key West every year the same time regardless. But but yes, Dills, I believe in Dillstradamus, okay, everyone? I believe in Harvey Dent. I believe in Dillstradamus. And
so far I haven't been more than a week off. That's not that bad.
That's pretty damn good.
I just want to remind everyone here publicly, I've mentioned this on Twitter, that last week we would have still done a show on a Monday, which means we still wouldn't have gotten to play Nax, which still would have made it very similar to the last 2 months of shows.
All we would have known is that it was coming out the next day and some other information, which we already kind of knew. So at this point, we've done it. We've played it. We've all beaten Heroic, right? All 3 bosses on Heroic.
No.
And
I haven't beat the last one yet.
No.
Okay.
I've been
we got to talk about this then because I think that's the one people have an issue with. So
I've been home for 2 days. I couldn't get Nax to work on vacation. I had a terrible bug, which I will talk about in a second. Both in the game and in my body.
Okay, I was going to say.
That sounds very invasive.
It was. I had a terrible infection while I was on vacation. I was laid out for like 3 days.
Infection doesn't sound the same as bug. That sounds like something burrowing into your skin.
Yes, and a Anubar ambusher broke into my hotel room and invaded my body.
And it left 2 1/1s behind. Gross.
Well, that would have been the haunted.
That's the haunted. Yeah, you're right.
The haunted creeper. But yes, exactly. So anyway, we're back. It's another show. This is the show you all wanted to hear anyway because we've actually had a chance to play the game. We've unlocked the 6 new cards and had a chance to make decks with them and play with them. So this is the one you wanted to hear.
And we've all been smashed by Zoo constantly over and over again in Constructed, right?
Well, I'm playing Zoo, so I'm doing the smashing.
Okay. So you're part of the problem.
I am back to Zoo. Dude, Zoo is so much fun now. I can't even begin to talk about it. And I just got off of my show where we don't care if we curse, so I'm trying really hard not to just be like, I'm so effing happy about Zoo.
It definitely was the deck that got the buff, but you know what? It doesn't mean that it's the only thing on the ladder. But for the first day or so, that was it. I think I faced maybe 7 or 8 Zoo locks in a row.
Yep.
At one point, it was insane.
I have no idea if Kalento was the first person to do the Void Terror in his deck, but he was the first person I saw it on. So I was just like,
I doubt he was. I think it happened all over the place kind of at the same time because it was pretty obvious that was going to be a sweet turn 3, right?
Right.
Like you just look at that card and you're like, oh yeah, this is going to be awesome.
Yep.
A 3/5 and a 4/4 on turn 3. That's
a card, and remind you guys, Void Terror, a card that previously was considered nigh unplayable.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is
it
now
was only good in one specific combination, which was I power overwhelming and then I keep the 4/4 with the stats. And that just wasn't, that wasn't good enough.
Yeah, it was a happy, fun time Christmas land. It was there were too many ifs.
Yeah.
But
I have, before we just dive into all the snack stuff, I just have a quick, just a little story about something that happened to me on Saturday. And this is a crossover story from my other podcast about the San Francisco Giants, Torture Cast. But you guys, I've told you guys.
I know this story.
Yes, I've told you guys that Hunter Pence is streaming Hearthstone now, right? And he's the right fielder. He was an all-star this year for the Giants. So really good player.
You got him to agree to come on the show. Good job, Dills.
Yeah.
No, that didn't happen, but maybe we'll get there. But here's what did happen. We were at the game, and it was me and Chad, and Veronica Belmont was actually our guest for the Torture Cast. And she came, and we all did the batting practice before the game because we were going to be in the press box. And so we go down to batting practice, and right when we walk out onto the field, Hunter Pence is hitting in the cage. It's his group is up to bat, and he pops out of the cage and comes over and he's kind of taking some practice swings. And we can stand like on the dirt that surrounds the field, right? That's about as far as we can go.
Okay.
So I'm standing there and he's within earshot, and I say, "Hey Hunter, are you still playing that Wind Fury Shaman deck?" And I had been told by many people that Hunter Pence does not like to talk during game warm-ups. He's a really friendly guy normally, but when he's getting ready for a game, he's getting ready for the game. He's not interested in interviews and all that kind of stuff.
That's respectable.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's fine.
So you just yell at him.
So I decide he can take this as he wants. He could ignore me, whatever. I'm just yelling it out. He turns around and he goes, "No, man, I've been playing Hunter and I love it. It's so good." And totally starts talking to us. And
that's great.
Then he goes back into the cage for his second bunch of hacks, and he takes those. And we're just still staying there. And as he comes back out of the cage, he reinitiates the conversation with us and wants to talk more Hearthstone. So Hunter Pence he's got the Hearthstone bug right now. And it was really cool to have him come out and just want to keep talking Hearthstone with us. So we'll see. We'll see if we've cracked through. And and we've broken the ice.
Oh, that makes me happy to hear.
Talk Hearthstone with Hunter next time I see him.
Well, that's great to hear, Hunter. If you're listening, anytime you want to come on, man.
Yeah.
Just somehow let us know.
Proverbial door is open. Yes.
Just yell at Dills next time you see him at the stadium.
Yeah. Hey, you still playing that zoo deck? Yep. That's what I'm doing.
Hey, I heard that guy on your show. He's part of the problem. You should. I'll come on if he doesn't host.
You still playing that stupid Lore Walker Cho deck? Yep, that's what I'm doing. It was a really cool little moment, and it was awesome. And Veronica was, I guess he is like her. You know how in a relationship, a guy and a girl may have people that are on the list.
So Hunter Pence is on Veronica Bell.
Veronica,
you're saying publicly.
Is on the list.
You're saying publicly on one of the most popular shows that the three of us do that Veronica Belmont has Hunter Pence on her
on her list. Yes,
on her loophole list. We'll call it the loophole list.
I feel bad now for Ryan because usually the list is this unattainable person. It's like the Goslings.
Salma Hayek. Salma Hayek.
Yeah, the Salma Hayek
on everyone's list.
But now she's actually communicated face to face with someone on her list, and ooh.
Ouch.
It's a little scary.
That's great. Well, awesome. Well, now that's out of your system, Dills, are you good?
Yeah, I had to share it.
All right. Let's get it. Well, just one more little bit of news. For all of our patrons out there, we are going to be doing our first Patreon Google Hangout tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. If you're listening to this on the podcast, it's today, Tuesday. What's the date going to be? July 29th. Mm-hmm. And we're going to be trying our first ever Patreon Google Hangout. That's because you, our fine listeners, went over to patreon.com/TAC and have been backing us for 50 cents, $1, $5 per month, whatever. And we have gone over our first goal of $1,000 a month. So thank you all very much. And we will be doing our first Google Hangout tomorrow. We'll be doing one of these every month that we stay over $1,000 a month. So thank you guys very much. You made this happen. We really appreciate it. And all of the details on how to call in and whatnot will be posted on the Patreon page tomorrow. Yep. So I'm still figuring out exactly how we're going to do it.
Say, once we figure out exactly what
I
those
don't like Google
be.
Hangouts, but it is the best way to do this and keep it, so that the patrons have, priority. So it's what we're going to have. We're going to have to, I'm going to,
we think.
I'm going to buckle down.
The first time and we're learning.
And figure out how to use a VoIP piece of software that I don't like for you guys. So check it out.
Be fun, though.
Now that that's out of the way, let's get into it, guys. The news for this week, which might have something to do with the curse of Naxxramas.
Good news, everyone!
Good news indeed. The curse of Naxxramas has finally been released. Of course, it was released the week that the Angry Chicken took a week off. But that's neither here or there. It doesn't matter. We've had a chance to play. And,
apparently, it was also the week that we were on the Reddit sidebar. By the way, too.
Wait, what?
You noticed that?
What? We're on the Reddit sidebar?
Yeah.
When did this happen?
I don't
Screw
know.
Naxxramas. This is the biggest news on today's episode.
Yeah, it happened last week. So I noticed it, and I was like, ooh, I should tell somebody. And then I forgot.
Because I've spent a large portion of my podcast life crapping all over Reddit. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Reddit's awesome.
You
That's
guys are
where I
great.
go every day and spend about half of my workday.
That's a really good point.
The Hearthstone subreddit.
As much crap as I give Reddit, I can't stop reading it. Can't stop reading it. So, yeah, I do know that we're on the Hearthstone calendar, which is shaping up to be a nice little site. You guys should check that out. Like me some Hearthstone calendar. Good site. Anyway, Naxxramas is out. This came out last Tuesday. The first wing, the Arachnid Quarter, which for they said roughly a month, will be free as long as you log in once during the launch event.
Yeah, so do you just have to log in? You don't even have to like go into solo adventures and click on anything. You just have to be active in Hearthstone this month.
I'm pretty sure you just have to log in because if you remember when we all first logged in, just that big
that's true.
Heigen,
it comes up and
just
it says,
boom, new adventure mode is here, and now like practice has turned into solo adventures. Practice
but
mode
I
is
wonder
still in
that
there
because there is like it shows as free, right? And you can just click that first one. I wonder though if you don't click it, if that just goes away or if it registers only when you click. I don't know this information for sure, so I'm not going to say one way or another.
We'll have to ask somebody that would know better. That
We'll have to remember that question.
May not be coming on in the future.
Yes.
Yeah.
Johnson pulled.
There's totally listeners of the show that have like never heard a Scott Johnson show and just like, what is this Johnson pulling?
Yeah, I know.
Why are they
all
making
pulling our Johnsons?
Why are they making
Let's
penis
just
jokes?
Talk about doing something not cool.
Yeah, it's a long inside joke, guys. Listen to like the
That's what she
instance
said.
or the morning stream or something.
It's really long. And inside when you pull a Johnson.
You're done, Dills. Dude,
A joke. It's a joke. I'm sorry.
Hovering over the mute Dills button.
There's a mute Dills button.
I'm
We've gone
getting
40 shows and I
Darren
didn't know
had
there
it.
was a mute Dills
Yeah.
button.
I'm getting it built customly. Actually, Bill Duran is building me a big red emergency button, and I can smack it, and it just shuts Dills off. Like, so the next
Well,
50-50 joke I hear, he just turns off.
It actually blows up the earth, but it also mutes Dills in the process. That's just how these things work.
So anyways, yes, the first weekend's out. The second wing will be coming out tomorrow. The Plague Quarter. That'll be, available for purchase with real money or with gold. I'm just going to slap down the $20, get the other extra 4 wings.
I already did.
You're
Yeah,
damn
you
right
can do
you
it
did,
now.
Jocelyn. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just take my money. Just take it.
It's not a lot of money, so yeah, let's do this.
Yeah, so I believe the three of us have battled through Anubricon, Grand Widow, Fairlina, and Myexna, who I rated the crap out of Naxxramas, and we always called her Maxina. And
Really?
I can't get
You just
that.
made up an extra E in there?
Well, Myexna is what a dumb name.
No, that's what I've always called
Now
her.
that I have
Well,
finally-
I said Mayexna.
Now
It's
that I
like,
have,
no, it's like my ex. Nah.
Yeah, there you go, Jocelyn. Yeah.
yeah, well, that's the thing. Now that I've logged in and the innkeeper announces who you're playing, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my god.
Mayexna!
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He always
my
sounds
world is
so
shattered.
excited for the bosses. He's like,
Yeah.
Gul'dan versus my ex.
It's like, hey, innkeeper,
Like,
tone it
oh.
down a bit. You know they cheat. Can we get a little fanfare for me, please? Thank you.
Exactly.
Yeah, she loves the friggin' just Grand Widow Fairly. And you're like, geez, man.
Wow.
I got it. It's fine.
Someone stop throwing the dwarf by his balls, man. Put him down. Be gentle with him. Anyways, yeah. So
I mean, it is exciting though. It actually the first time I went in, it helped my excitement. I was like, yeah, let's do this. Fighting a new Bricon.
and then they start cheating, and you're just like, oh, this. I'm
jerks.
much less excited about this.
Yeah. Then they start popping out 4/4s for 2 mana, and you're like, what is this? This is not. No.
Yeah, absolutely. So
We're
go.
getting rid of 2 of your minions for no mana?
Oh yeah. Well, not killing them though. It's fine.
No, but
So, for going through this, what bosses did you guys have the hardest time with? Because for me, it was Grand Widow, Fairlina. I had almost no issue with Anubricon or Myexna. Myexna?
in normal, you mean, right?
Mayexna. Yeah.
Myexna.
I think actually, I just played Zoo, so Grand Widow Fairlina was actually really easy because once your hand is empty, her hero power does nothing.
See,
Yeah.
yeah, I was
So-
playing Shaman, so I was having some issues with Fairlina.
Yeah, so I played Zoo against in normal. I didn't die to any of them the first time through, and I just played Zoo, and it was just I killed them.
Done.
Cool, that was easy. But in heroic Mexna, you have to build a deck kind of to beat her, which basically consists of a lot of healing cards that when they bounce back to your hand, you don't give a crap. So what I did is I played Paladin, and I played Paladin that had Earthen Ring Farseer, Voodoo Doctors, friggin' Guardian of Kings, all that kind of stuff. So every time they would bounce them back, I would just put them back out, heal up again, and then her board is completely full of 1-attack creatures. So the most she can do to me every turn is 7, right? So I just keep healing up for at least 6 or 7 or whatever. And then eventually I drew Leroy, and then I drew Alexstrasza. So Alexstrasza, get her down to 15 health, then Leroy, and then bounce it back, and then I get myself back up to 15 health. It's just, at that point, it's just easy. But that's like cheating. But it was just the easiest way to do it in my mind. So
yeah, it was funny. We've had Kyle Ferguson on here before, and Dills, you do a show with him. I was talking to him just before the show on A-Move Radio, and I asked him how Nax was working out for him. He's like, dude, I had no issues in heroic mode at all because I refuse to play the game in a way that makes sense. I love making theme decks. So heroic mode was like my bread and butter.
Yeah.
Nice.
And he probably just sat there and thought about it and figured something weird out, and there you go.
Yeah.
And that's really what you have to do with these bosses. And I think that's what Blizzard had in mind, right? Is that you'll have to craft a deck specifically to beat this boss.
Yeah, that was the fun of this. Like, I'm excited for tomorrow because I get to kind of get in on the ground floor with everyone else. Last week I was away and I could not get into Nax. And that's what I was excited about, was kind of making these decks and talking with everyone and comparing notes and figuring out what the best way to beat these damn things are.
Yeah.
So now, obviously, that's tough. It's a very fast iteration process. If you go on to Hearthhead or Hearthpwn, the pre-made deck areas have just kind of been they're kind of ruined at the moment because it's all heroic mode decks. No one's really discussing like play mode, rank stuff.
That'll happen though. Right now, this is the exciting thing, right? So
exactly.
And eventually, all the cards will be out, and it'll be back to show off your EP by being super high level.
Yeah, it's a good point. So, anyone have issues with the class challenges? I only tried the rogue one once, didn't win, and I haven't had time to get back in there and unlock that rogue card.
It took me 2 tries to get the rogue card because I just don't play rogue. So I was like, I had no idea even what order I should be playing things in. I was like, well, I know there's this combo thing, but like I didn't know what to save, what to hold on to, what to get rid of and play quickly and stuff. So I got it on the second try, but I was like, ugh.
I heard you want to just dig for your big game hunter and any way to bounce them back into your hand.
I don't know. I can't remember exactly how that fight went. Again, I think I did one try on each of those.
Well, because
those aren't that hard,
right?
But
no,
they might take a couple of tries just because you, like Jocelyn said, you might not be familiar with that particular class.
Yeah, and also,
but in the end, the deck they give you, I was expecting, because if you played Magic, like 2013, Magic 2014, the iPad and the online
Duels
games,
of the Planeswalkers.
They have so they have the challenges in that where basically it's a weird deck. It's either all one creature. You'll have like a deck with just all one creature, or they'll have all one creature and they continue to play the same thing every turn. I thought it was going to be more like that, but it was basically just here's a deck that we built and that might or might not be good.
There's for lack of a better word, there is a gimmick that the opposing boss is using against you, and you have to figure it out and how to counter that with the cards at hand. Like for the rogue, for example, my Exina has Sea Giants.
Mm-hmm.
And she's playing all kinds of, and your deck creates a lot of tokens. Her deck creates a lot of tokens. So she's just coughing out these Sea Giants. And that's why there's a big game. I think there's 1 or 2 big game hunters in the rogue deck, and there's ways to bounce it back into your hand. So what I've read is everyone says you just need to dig for that big game hunter and any way to bounce it back into your hand, so you kind of recycle it to deal with those Sea Giants.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I
don't even think that it got that far for me in the challenge to get all the way to the Sea Giants. It wasn't a problem.
And the challenge too is not in heroic, so it's 30 health against 30 health. It's not.
Right. Yeah. There's none of this extra 15 health stuff.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I feel that if that's the way it's going to be, and if that's what makes things more difficult, then they need to do something about Alexstrasza, because that was how I just put Alexstrasza in the zoo deck to fight the first 2.
Yeah, I don't think they should balance cards around Venture Mode.
No, but I mean, maybe add some armor instead of health. Maybe make it 30 health and 15 armor.
Ooh, that'd
because it's I'm not saying balance the card around this, but balance the fight around the fact that
the way you worded it, just in my head, I was like, is Dill saying they should nerf Alexstrasza because of heroic mode next Rammus?
balance the fight around the fact that there's a card that knocks your health down 30 points in one go, which is a little crazy. And just that being there as a possibility makes it so that some of these fights were a little bit cheesy.
Gotcha.
And it wasn't like I had to actually figure out how to beat the fight. I just need to draw Alexstrasza, and then I can't lose now. So,
all right.
The armor thing should fix that, though, because that's it doesn't get rid of armor. So
that's not a
they
bad
basically
idea.
do effectively the same thing.
Cool. I also wouldn't mind. You never know. They might just kind of program the fight around that fact now that it's been in players' hands.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
There's
a lot of things. I think they have a plan for the release at this point, so I doubt they're going to go and start changing things based on what people are doing at this point. And I also saw a tweet from, I believe it was Zariah, that said, we're not making these progressively more difficult, so it's not going to be impossible when you get to the final wing. So I think the difficulty is where they want it to be. They want it to be fun and interesting, but not a gate that can't be surpassed by a lot of people. They want you to be able to beat it. Maybe it takes a few tries, but it's not impossible.
Yeah. So cool. So I mean, I know this is a news section. Just before we move on to the other changes that came in with the patches this week, what are your guys' just your raw impressions? You really enjoying adventure mode? Is it something you want more of?
I loved it. Oh, it was so much fun. I couldn't put it down. It came out. It was available. I actually made my cell phone into a mobile hub so that I could play on the way home on the bus. And it was like so slow. And I'm sitting there and I'm like picking up my minion and moving it across and then waiting for like 30 seconds for that part of the turn to resolve. And I was just
Man. Well, what's actually that's the day. If you did it the day of, there was terrible server-side lag as well too. So that wasn't just your phone or anything. But I think it's really fun. I just what I would like to see is more replayability to this stuff, because now that I've beaten it, there's not a lot of reason to go back in there, other than maybe to stream it or something like that. But I would like there to be some sort of something, even if it's just a checkbox that says I did it with Druid or I did it with whatever, even if it's not an actual reward, but something where the completionist can come out of you and say, now I did it with all of the classes type of thing. Something that makes you want to go back in and do it again. Because right now, it checks the box off. You did it, and I have all the cards, and what's the point? Now I go back into, I've been back in Arena and constructed ever since. So I want something that makes me want to do it again, other than just the fact that it's fun, because it is fun. But I guess it's just that little gamer inside me that I need loot. I need something.
Achievements.
At the end.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it too, but I had kind of a similar reaction, but slightly different. Where I was just kind of like, I like the adventure, but I kind of really just want a ton of new cards. I'm not sure I care that much about the adventure. And that's the first time ever in like the history of any game where I've had that kind of sentiment. Really any other game, I love any type of extra flavor, story aspect. But for whatever reason, this card game, I don't want to play versus an NPC. I want to play against other people with new cards. And I'm just like, yeah, this is great, but I really just want the cards.
I had kind of the opposite reaction to these heroic bosses, is because like I find them really fun to practice a new deck against, because they're harder than the expert like regular AI people.
Yeah. I'll give you that.
And they kind of have 3 different styles of play, I guess. So like you can make a deck that you want to play against a certain style and go up against a heroic boss and kind of see how you fare, play with some combos. Like I think it's a really cool way to add another level to kind of try out your decks.
I think your point is sound, Garrett, that this game is something that you want to play against other people. But I also think they did something really smart here. And if you just want to get the new cards, that takes all of 15 minutes. And then you're back into the game, right?
Yeah.
So you didn't feel like you had to sit here and grind for an hour to get these new cards and go back in and start playing.
Right. And with that comment, I don't want to take away from the fact that this is really a really well-crafted experience for what it is. I mean,
Dills has decided you're boring him and he needs to watch TV.
Oh, no. The Giants game is on now. So. This is important. I guess that did look really weird though. In the middle of the podcast.
Yeah, Garrett,
like,
you kind of have a point,
on.
but counterpoint and TV.
Yeah. And that's nice. Screw you.
Yeah.
Change this
But
channel.
you guys understand that I don't listen to either of you this entire show, right?
Oh yes, no, we know.
Dills comes on to spout his opinion regardless of the rest of the conversation that's happening. And yeah, no.
I basically just listen to hear when no one's talking, and then I know, cool, it's my turn again.
Yeah.
that people who are watching got that, and the people who listen to the podcast are like, what just happened? What are they even talking about?
Dills very rudely turned away from me and
Picked up the TV remote.
Picked up the TV remote.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm not trying to take away from the fact that this is really well made. It's just for what I like about this game, it seems like the most effort went into my least favorite part of this new content.
Okay, sure.
So
Yeah.
there's that.
I mean, I can see that. But I think that I would say that you're probably in the minority there. I think more people are loving this new way to play and excited about where it's going to go. And obviously, this is the first time it's happened. But I don't think that you're alone either. I think there's probably a lot of people who are like, yeah, just give me a new card. That's fine.
Yeah. I think
if there was a way to just buy them and skip all of it, then you'd probably just go for that. And there's probably plenty of people who will do that.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of good, though, that there aren't any card rewards for heroic. You get your card back if you beat all the heroic bosses, but you don't actually get cards. You know, you can unlock everything without trying to do this very challenging, especially the final boss, I think.
Yeah.
You know,
You're not alone in that. Reading around the internet, my ex has been giving a lot of people hell.
Well, and I don't want a net deck. I really want to beat her on my own.
Yeah, no, I agree. No, I think you made a really good point there. And I didn't dislike playing through. I think it was great. It was just, obviously the thing I'm most excited about is just the new cards. So
Sure. And I think the new cards are, I mean, yeah, I think you're right that there's a lot of work put into designing the actual challenge. But there was a lot of work put into these new cards because there's some really cool stuff.
Absolutely,
I want to consider as a thing they could have done.
Exactly.
So.
I hope we get a chance to talk to a dev because I want to talk to them like, what are these cards? I love hearing about what the cards look like in development. Like, what did this look like on the drawing board compared to what it looks like what we're seeing now in the finished product? What kind of ridiculous broken stuff did you have to put down and see how it worked together before you agreed that, okay, this is balanced. This is the attack value. This is the health value. This is how much it costs, and you felt happy with it. I find it so fascinating.
Yeah, I think that process is probably really in depth and really interesting. So let's, if we ever do get a dev on here, let's see if we can pry that out of them.
Exactly.
It may or may not happen.
So also this
50-50 chance.
50-50. Jocelyn's got my back.
Running jokes that I've heard enough of. Also this week we got a patch that came in with the Curse of Naxxramas, and the first thing I wanted to talk about is the Eagle Horn bow change, because I don't even want to know your opinion about the card change. I just want to know if you guys had the same reaction I did, which was, what? Who thought this needed to be changed? I didn't see this coming at all. I was just like, Eagle Horn bow, really?
Well, it was really annoying, though, to play against a hunter with the Eagle Horn bow when you were playing a secret-based class. So even though this was probably not affecting that many people, I think it was just something that made more sense, and the card was costed more for the hunter's own secrets and not based around the fact that other people's secrets would also proc it. So it wasn't like a change that had to happen. It was just a change that might as well have.
No, I agree with the change. You're doing exactly what I asked not to do, Dills. I just wanted to know if you're hitting me with logic, damn it. Yeah, no, I think the change is a good one and it makes sense. I remember seeing it, I'm like, of everything that's going on, all the things that people are complaining about, Eagle Horn bow? Okay, yeah. Fair enough.
But nobody was complaining about this, right? So it means that Blizzard is looking internally at stuff that we're not all
yelling about.
Yep. That's good. I see this as a good sign. I like that.
Absolutely. But yeah, I think it's correct. I think it's one of those things that whether they thank you, I just got a food delivery. But when you're playing against the hunter as the hunter, the mirror match, that's when it got really weird. And I don't know if you guys ever had this experience.
Yes,
where you both had
get
bows out,
obscene amounts of durability on your Eagle Horn bow.
Yeah, so basically the game didn't come down to the game anymore. It just came down to bow and hero
and you
ability
get into
swings
that
to the
weird
face.
kind of standoff where neither of you want to trigger each other's secrets.
Yeah, so no one's attacking. Yeah,
And there's like
fun
no
stuff, really
no
fun.
minions on board just in case it's misdirect. It
Yeah.
gets real wonky, so that's good. So of course, until August 7th, you can disenchant the Eagle Horn bow for its full value, because that's what happens when a card is rebalanced.
Although they didn't actually do it the moment it changed. Did you notice that? It took till the next day or something before you could actually disenchant it for the full value. There was a whole announcement the next day.
I didn't log in.
Everyone
on the
thought it
day
was a bug
changed.
fix.
Yeah, but it's actually it's a change to the
it,
card.
it was a separate post. Yes, you are correct.
Yeah. So I actually had 2 golden eagle horn bows, so I went ahead and tested those bad boys. Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
That's awesome. Oh, cool.
Do you still have 2 to use in your decks, or did you just get rid of your?
I'm not playing hunter right now, so whatever.
I mean,
and if I need them, I'll craft the non-gold versions, and I'm still up.
I was about to say, yeah, you just craft 2 non-gold versions, and you still made a dust profit. So,
Exactly.
But then you don't have the gold versions, and
I know that, Jocelyn, but I can't pass up a deal.
Dill said I don't play this game to have fun.
The deal was too good. I had to take it. Yeah.
Some of the other changes that also came in with this patch that are of note is that marking yourself as busy within the BattleNet desktop app will suppress incoming chat messages and toasts for friend requests. So a little fix for tournaments out there. We don't need to have another RDU scandal.
That came really quickly.
Well done.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a complicated change, so
it's how I think it should have.
Are you a dev?
Yes.
Thank you for putting that in, Jocelyn, because I always bring that up when someone says something like that who's not a developer, which is fairly often since developers very rarely come on the shows.
But being marked as busy already existed in the BattleNet app.
Right. And I think that's
I
how
work with developers, so I understand. If that's already there, that's like half the work is done.
Mm-hmm.
Now we just need to tell the game, hey, if this is happening, then don't accept messages.
Because I'm sure the BattleNet client works just 1-to-1 with the Hearthstone client with no issues
totally
whatsoever,
does.
and the code is 100% the same.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it totally does. In fact, it's actually just a guy, and he just says nobody. He just flips a little sign like a hotel, and that's how it actually works. You don't know this because you're not devs, but that is actually how.
There's a guy with a
I
sign.
can hear Jay's teeth grinding from across the country right now. Anyways,
Look, it was easy. All Young Woo had to do was just just a little like it's that, and it's done. Oh, sorry, I actually just typed something into the notes when I did that.
well played, sir. Well
Let me
played.
get rid of that.
But yeah, no, I agree with you. I think this is how busy should have always worked. So good. I'm glad that's in there. They also said that the order in which Death Rattle abilities resolve has been updated to be more consistent, but they didn't say how.
Well, I know how, but yeah, they didn't say how, which is weird. But basically, it's supposed to be the way that they kept explaining it was that it actually wasn't, which is the first creature to hit the board is the first creature that's battle cry or that's Death Rattle resolves.
Yeah, should say there's 3 minions, all 3 die at the same time. Whichever one was played first, Death Rattle would happen before the other 2.
Sure.
And then down the
they would
line.
happen in chronological order. So
Yes.
if there was a Harvest Golem and then the next guy played, Sylvanas, and then the next guy played a Cairn, and then all 3 died at the same time, it would go Golem, Sylvanas, Cairn would all go off one after another.
Right.
Yeah. So it's good. It's good that it's that way. It actually is. It's cool because it actually adds more skill to the game than was already there, because now you have to keep track of when creatures were played. Whenever a creature comes out with Death Rattle, you're going to have to pay attention to that. So there's an extra little bit of skill rather than just knowing, oh yeah, when Cairn never gets or Bane never gets stolen by Sylvanas, which is kind of how it was before.
We need a Hearthstone rulebook, and someone needs to make this.
Well, think about how long it took before you had the adventure journal in WoW. It would be cool if there was something like that in Hearthstone, where you could just click through and through stuff.
Yeah, but we had plenty of fan sites that did it for us.
Yeah,
I would love someone to make like an end-all be-all. Here it is, your Hearthstone Bible. Everything that in here is law.
I think Hearthhead has a pretty decent one, doesn't it? I think if you go there, you can look up how things work. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I don't know if it's set out like here's all the stuff, but yeah, they've got a whole thing on mechanics, so I can go and I look up like how each mechanic works. So yeah, there's stuff out there for people, but
Cool.
yeah, it's
just for this weird stuff that's not explained in game. I'd love to see something like that because I can't tell you how many times I've been in the middle of a play in Magic and just been like, I need to break out my phone. I don't know how this resolves.
Oh yeah.
I'm not sure. This is a weird combination of effects that I have never seen before. Give me a moment. Thank you.
By the way, have you guys noticed in chat room is bringing it up right now? The dancing minions is back.
No, I haven't. I have not noticed that.
I haven't been hit with that yet.
Yeah, I've seen it a few times. I had several Defender of Argus plays where I didn't get the guys I wanted, and when you don't Defender your egg, that's pretty bad. It turns out, yeah, because now I have no way to activate my egg, which is kind of the whole point of playing the Nerubian egg. So hopefully that gets resolved. Maybe tomorrow. I hope it's resolved tomorrow because it's pretty bad.
The dancing minions is one of the worst things in this game, as far as bugs are concerned. So yeah, I agree. So no, I haven't seen that. That's bad.
Well, be careful. Play slow, and usually that seemed to have fixed it before. But
I distinctly remember being in a Skype call with you, Dills, while you were playing random decks with Jocelyn, and I was just playing a ladder game back when dancing minions were a thing in the first time, and raging and not realizing you were streaming while someone heard me go on an F-bomb tirade.
It is rage-inducing, man. It's terrible.
It's bad, man. It's not good to lose a game that you should have won because your Argus didn't buff anything.
It sucks. By the way, I want to give a shout out real quick before we move on to strategy to Robert Wing, who people know who listen to this show. We played on the whatever it is World of Podcasts challenge thing on Saturday night, and he challenged me. He called me out, so I had to come with it. And of course, I also had to play the Paladin deck that Garrett thinks is terrible.
It is terrible.
Jocelyn tried to play and also now thinks it's terrible.
She knows it's terrible
I have
from
most
actual...
of the cards now, though.
Oh yeah, see there you go. Oh yeah, I saw you opened a Golden Black Knight the other night.
I did.
Ooh,
nice.
I would have shredded the shit out of that thing.
But I don't have a regular one.
That's a good point.
I'm hanging on to it.
And you know what? Actually, Black Knight was the most recent legendary I crafted, so maybe not.
Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah,
I never had one, so.
But anyway, so Robert challenged me. We played, and I was in Austin, Texas, in my hotel room at the time. And the first game we played, I knew the internet was suspect at best. And the first game we played, at one point my turns were going so slow, I couldn't resolve my turn and attack with my minions in time. And Robert let me replay that game with him, and then I ended up beating him 3-2. But that game was up for grabs, so I just want to give a shout out to Robert for being a cool competitor and not take. He didn't want to take a win where it was clear. You know, I had like a taunted up Yeti that was a 5/6 and didn't attack with it, and he was like, "Was that your internet?" It's like, "Yep." So yeah, it wasn't letting me finish my turns, but then we ended up playing the full series out to 5 games. And if anybody wants to watch it, I think it's up on worldofpodcasts.com.
Nice.
Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, it's up there. So.
Nice. Well, Robert, you're a gentleman and a scholar.
He is. He absolutely is.
Let's get into this week's strategy section because it's a doozy.
Hit it very hard.
Wanna blow something up? Time to pay!
Welcome to this week's strategy section where we're going to try something we've never done before. We're going to try and do a proper review of new cards, specifically the 6 new cards that you can get this week from the Arachnid Quarter. And we'll be doing this for the 4 weeks following this for the following 4 quarters. Hooray! And we'll also be talking about the decks that they work well in, defending our choices, etc., etc. I guess real quick, we should explain the grading scale. We're going to be giving everything a letter grade, mostly because I like letter grades. My favorite Magic show gives cards letter grades, so why reinvent the wheel? I think we've all had to deal with a letter grade at one point or another, so why not do the A through F? And
it's something most people are familiar with, except for those heathens who have pass-fail.
Yes, you hippies.
I always had percentages.
Percentages?
Yeah.
That's too much math.
They just give you a number between 1 and 100.
So you always
so
got
mad.
50, right? Because everything's 50-50.
We got that
You're
too.
like, what? Another
but,
D?
But like 90 to 100 was an A, 80 to 90 was a B,
Yeah,
70
but
to
yeah,
80
we
was a
just-
C, and 60 to 70 was a D, and anything below that's an F.
In America, we have scales that make sense, like 12 inches in a foot.
Don't give me
stuff
that.
like
no,
that.
No. Increments of 12 is one of the dumbest things ever. I won't even defend my country on that one.
3 feet in a yard.
Metric
It's
is
really simple. All you got to know
Metric
is that
is
there's 12 in
superior.
this one, and then there's 3 in the next one.
okay.
And then there's 5,000 something or whatever in a mile. I don't know, whatever. Never mind.
Yeah. Anyway, so going through the grading scale, to give a card an A, we basically are saying this is a stellar card. You should be playing this card. Reasons I might give something an A is if it's good to play if you're behind or if it stabilizes the board. Sometimes an A card might not be wonderful if you're ahead, but who gives a crap? You're ahead. Congratulations. An example would be...
But that's not an A card.
No,
But yes.
Bloodlust is good if you're ahead. It's not necessarily good if you're behind. 'Cause if you got a
Mm-hmm.
filled up board, cool. Bloodlust, you end the game. An example of an A would be most wrath effects, and by that I mean board clears, your consecrates, lightning storms, flame strikes, anything that just gets you back in the game when you're falling behind.
Yeah.
Karen Bloodhoof, Blood Mage Thalnos, Nat Pagel or Tinkmaster before the nerf.
Sure.
These were all cards that I think are.
Ragnaros. I think Ragnaros is definitely
I would give him a B plus. He's a good card, but
Oh, come on.
But
Ragnaros,
there's a
you
reason-
play him, and then you kill your biggest creature.
We're not doing every card. We don't have time.
right, that's a good point.
I'm just saying, Ragnaros is an A.
All right, fair enough. Dills would give Ragnaros an A. I would give it a B plus. This is why we're all giving individual grades. And also, please note before you send angry emails, these are our opinions. These cards have just come out. Things are going to change. Months from now, might have different cards that change our grades on these existing cards. But for the time being, we're basing it off of what we can see, what we know. So, opinion piece, everyone. If we give something a B, that means it probably plays a large role in the construction around your deck. Some people might call these play around me cards, or they might just be downright efficiently costed. Examples are Leroy Jenkins, Knife Juggler, Soulfire, Defender of Argus. These are all very solid cards. And a lot of times your deck construction is based around these cards. Maybe not Knife Juggler, but Knife Juggler is just a damn good card. A C would be... Juggalo. I'm sorry, Dills. If we give something letter grade of a C, it's deck filler. They're decent cards, nothing stellar, but these are gonna be in your decks. Direwolf Alpha, I would say is a C. Abusive Sergeant. Abusive Sergeant's good. It's a 2/1. It's nothing stellar, but doesn't feel great to play on an empty board though, so it'd probably fall under a C. Dark Iron Dwarf, still a good card. It's a 4/4 for 4, but still not great to play on an empty board. And so on and so forth. If you give something a D, it's still technically playable, but you get that feeling in the bottom of your stomach. You're like, I really don't want to play this card, but I'm in arena and I don't have a choice, so I'm playing this card. That's a D. That's like your Bloodstill Raiders or your Thrallmar Farseer, which when I was looking for examples for Ds, I saw this Thrallmar Farseer and I was like, I don't remember what this card is because I never play it.
Okay.
So I was like, but I have played.
Yeah, you clearly also don't do very much arena then, because
Well,
all the cards I see it sometimes. Have to
You're
play.
going to play a lot of D cards in arena because you just need to fill out your curve. And then an F would be your unplayables, your Eye for an Eye, your Alarmobot, your Angry Chicken.
Angry Chicken is not unplayable.
It's an unplayable. It's an unplayable. It holds a very special place in our hearts, but it's an unplayable card. So now that that's out of the way, let's talk about the cards in order of which you unlock them. So we're starting off with the Haunted Creeper because you get the Haunted Creeper by killing a Nubercon. So this is, and I forgot, I've got little graphics. There we go. This is a neutral minion, common rarity, costs 2 mana, has 1 attack, 2 health, and it reads Death Rattle, summon 2/1/1 Spectral Spiders.
Mm-hmm.
So
and it's a beast, which is also
yes, that's a good thing to.
Stole my argument.
Although the 2/1/1 spiders that come out are not beasts.
They are not because they are
Go figure that
ghosts, and they're not even marked as
Spectral.
ghosts. They're unmarked. They have no classification.
I
there
think
isn't a ghost
ghosts
classification.
are going to be a thing.
They
That
should
would
be.
be cool. Yeah.
That'd be
They
very
should
cool.
all have some sort of classification. I don't care if it matters or not. I just want them to all have one.
Yeah, I know we've talked about this in the past, but I want Night Elf, I want Orc, I want
Yeah.
Race special, and Ghost would be great because then we get the Karazhan adventure and it's gonna be all ghosts.
Yep.
Bring it on.
Really cool.
Give me some Wizard
I
Parlor
think ghosts
music,
are coming.
please. Get on it. So looking at the Haunted Creeper, what are we thinking, guys?
Yeah. Should we just go down the line here?
Yeah, Dills, we'll let you
right.
go first. I'll go second. Jocelyn third. That cool?
Well, in Constructed, I give this card a B because you can actually build a deck that takes advantage of it, which is, say, like a zoo deck or an aggro deck that just wants to pop out a lot of creatures. And even though its initial stats are pretty crap, it's 3-4 worth of stats for 2 mana. In the end, it's just kind of over time, right?
Yeah.
But at some point, it's going to die, and you can buff this card and then attack something with it. And then when it dies, you get 2 more 1/1s that you can also buff. So, it's in Constructed, it's a very decent card because of that fact. In Arena, I'm going to give it a little bit less of a grade, but still okay, just because the base stats, if you give it the vanilla test and say the standard thing that happens without it being silenced or whatever is that it's going to give you 3-4 eventually were the stats for 2 mana. I think it's still an okay card, but it's not going to give you a very good tempo lead if it can be dealt with really early on. And sometimes that's going to be the case. So I give it, I would still pick a 3-2 over this as a 2-drop than this as a 2-drop. So, but I think it's a fine card. It's pretty good.
All right. I'm more or less in the same camp. I gave it a C in Constructed because at the moment I only have seen it function in a very few amount of Constructed decks.
Sure.
I don't think it has. I don't think it's going to work in a lot of decks. The decks that it does work in, it's very good in.
I've seen it in Hunter, Zoo. I've seen some people trying it out in Backspace Rogue because they just want a bunch of cards out, a bunch of creatures out there. And I haven't tried it yet in the Aggro Paladin, but I think it would work in that as well.
Yeah, the one I haven't seen it in and I want to try it in is Token Druid. I think it has a
Oh
place
yeah, that's
there.
Kalento was playing it in his Token Druid today.
Okay, cool. I haven't seen his new. I haven't seen Kalento play Token Druid recently, so I guess
He
I
was
just
playing
haven't
it
seen
today
it.
for
Okay,
a
I
little
didn't
while,
watch.
yeah.
I didn't watch him today. But yeah, that was the one I was thinking this might have some quote pun intended legs in because it's a spider. But I give it a higher grade in Arena. I give it a B plus. I'd be really happy because I mean, very rarely in Arena are you going to be looking at this and a 2 mana 3/2. It's unlikely because of the way Arena works. You're always looking at 3 cards, and it's unlikely you'll be looking at this in a 3/2 for 2 mana. I'll probably be picking this almost every time.
Well, you could see it. You'll see it up against all the common rarity 3/2s, and there are enough of those. There, like the acidic swamp ooze, say, could be up against this in Arena, and if both of those were against each other, I would take the swamp ooze every time. But yeah, I just think it's better in Constructed because you could build the deck around this card.
Yeah.
Whereas in Arena, you never know what you're going to get, and you may not get anything that buffs it, and then you've essentially got a 1/2 and then 2 1/1s. And that's it. And they can't get any help. So,
Yeah.
And in Arena, I don't look for anything that needs help. And I think this card needs a little help to really shine.
Okay, Jocelyn, what about you?
Well, I mean, obviously it's a beast card, so where I play Hunter so often, I thought it was a B for Constructed because, it's a really good card to play early on. I found that unlike some of the other ones, since you play it so early, very rarely does it get silenced or, anything like that. Usually you actually get to take advantage of its death rattle. So, I mean, that's why I gave it a higher grade, I guess, in Constructed is because it's very, very useful, I think. I like the fact that you can kind of spread it out. Even though they're not beasts, you still get those 2 other minions to play that get played for you when it dies. So I find it works really well in the decks that I run most often, which are Zoo and Hunter. So easy peasy pick for me. Arena, I was kind of down with you, Garrett. Thought the same sort of thing. I mean, it's a pretty good card.
Yeah, this is a solid card. I really like the Haunted Creeper.
I think, though, that it does kind of rely on some combo bits to go along with it. And that's the reason why Arena was a little bit of a down for me. But if you had it with, say, a Knife Juggalo or something like that, it would be awesome. You get that thing out. But then they come out with Summoning Sickness, so you don't initially get the full, you don't get the full stats. And let's say if it was up against the 3/2, the 3/2 may get 2 attacks in on your face, before you can remove it with this card. So if they were up against each other, yes, eventually you will be able to overtake it, but you'll take some damage in the process. And these are the types of things I look at when deciding on a card in, say, Arena.
I was thinking that this card would probably shine about against like the old Shocking decks or any aggressive deck that's running a lot of Leper Gnomes, Wolf Riders, any of your however much attack and 1 health. This card's going to shine in that scenario. We're just not seeing a lot of those decks at the moment.
True. No, it's going to do great against aggro, and it's also going to do great in decks that are aggro because it helps you do the swarming tactic.
Exactly. That's
keep
why
putting down a bunch of minions and always have a bunch of crap on the board. Also, you brought up the silence thing. I don't think if I'm playing against this card that I waste the silence on this card.
Exactly.
No, and that's what I'm saying, that you most of the time you're going to get your 2/1/1s. It's not like some of the other ones that get silenced or whatever else.
I'd much rather silence a Nerubian egg or something.
Yes,
so.
yes, you would. We're going to get to that in a second. But let's move on to the next card, which you get by defeating Grand Widow Fairlina, the Narubar Weblord, who is my least favorite card out of these 6 by a landslide victory. He is a neutral minion. He's not a beast. He's a common rarity. He costs 2 mana. He has 1 attack and 4 health. And he reads minions with battle cry cost 2 more.
Yep.
So, Dills, your grade.
So I give this a C- in constructed for right now because I think at this very moment it doesn't really belong in any decks. And I saw Forsen was playing these in his Miracle Rogue. The problem there is he makes Leroy cost 2 more. He makes Azure Drake cost 2 more. He makes a lot of the cards that he doesn't. It's funny is actually the combo effect of the SI7 agent doesn't count as a battle cry. It counts as a combo effect, even though it's a thing that happens as it comes out, right? So it actually doesn't make that cost more. So if you were to say do something like a Tempo Rogue where everything had combos but not battle cries, it could work.
Yeah, combos don't count, and I don't think the Druid cards that give you a choice count.
The choices don't count.
Because they turn into spells when they come out. They're not battle cries.
Right.
So basically, it's gonna be good once more of the Death Rattle cards come out that we're gonna see in Nax. It's gonna be much better at that point because you can build a deck with no battle cries.
So that's kind of like what I was thinking when we were looking at grading this card, because I graded it higher, at least in constructed, because we're not going to go through and do every single Nax card every single week. And I really think that the way that it's going to swing is that you're going to see a lot of really, really heavy Death Rattle cards. So you're going to see a lot of silence, and you can't silence a battle cry. So you're going to see a lot of battle cry decks. And then this card is going to be the anti-battle cry deck. So I think it's going to take a few meta swings, but I think it's going to swing this way, and you're going to see this be popular in probably 4, 5, 6 weeks.
This will be in some stuff for sure at some point, but I think just right now it's not quite reaching its potential yet, and that's just because all those Death Rattle cards aren't out yet, and people are in the chat are saying, oh, it's really good against Zoo because Zoo runs a lot of Battlecry stuff, and that's absolutely true. However, the 1/4 aspect of it is not really that good against Zeus. So,
yeah, that's what I was gonna. You guys are being nice to it. I hate this card. I gave it a D across the board in constructed and arena.
I gave it a D in arena though too.
1/4 for 2 is terrible. Like, whatever. You can't kill anything with it. And it's not even like the previous card. I like the previous card, the Haunted Creeper, because it's spread across multiple bodies. It's good in a token deck. And I don't necessarily think that just because we're getting a lot of Death Rattle isn't anti-Battlecry. It doesn't mean you're not going to be running Battlecry with your Death Rattle. This card is just as much a detriment to you if you want to run any Battlecry at all as it is to your opponent.
Yeah, that's the thing, and that's why right now it's not great. But if you can build a deck with 0 Battlecries in it, why wouldn't you put this card in?
Because it's a 1/4 for 2.
Yeah, but at some
you can
point,
screw with your opponent.
Yeah. It's the same as some of the other cards that screw with the opponent's mana costs, like a Mana Wraith, right? It seems terrible, but if you had a deck that had a ton of spells in it, you could make an argument to have a card like that in there. So it's a similar thing, and it had to pay a price in stats. It still gets 5 stats for 2 mana, which is the same as say Swamp Ooze, which it's
I
just
want a
not
straw poll right now.
direction you want. You know what I mean?
Someone make a straw poll. Have you ever used Mana Wraith?
I've picked it in Arena quite a bit because it's just one of those cards. Sometimes it goes up against absolute crap, and you can play it at the beginning. It's better than the Wind Fury piece of crap in the Shaman that gives the 2 overload, the 3/1. I mean, it's better than that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I know exactly.
So,
yeah. The Dust Devil or whatever it is.
It's a terrible card. Yes.
Yep. Yeah. The Mana Wraith is. I think that's a prime example of a D card where it's like sometimes I just have to put it in to fill out my curve, but it's not a great card. And that's kind of how I feel about this. I think this guy will be great if we get a Battlecry expansion.
Yeah,
but currently this is. It's not.
There's actually though a couple of decks right now where I feel like if I tweak the deck just a little, I could make this work. Like my Paladin deck, I run cards that buff other cards in there, and most of the cards I run don't have battle cries; they have charge and stuff like that. So this would actually be something that I could play early on and maybe get a bunch of attacks out of, with. After I put, say, the Blessing of Might on it or Blessing of Kings or something, it would be pretty formidable and hard to deal with. And it's possible I could get some pretty decent value. That being said, I'm not going to hang my hat on a card like this at this moment in time.
Right, exactly. I mean, Jocelyn, what were your grades?
B for constructed and D for arena, and pretty much for the reasons that we already talked about.
Okay. I realized you hadn't said your grades yet. So
no, it's very important.
I was just curious. So okay, but I feel like we're kind of all pretty much on the same page. I'm a little drinking the haterade a little more than everyone else. But.
No, that's fine. Yeah, but the one attack thing is really where this card suffers. If it was a 2/3, I would say this card is great.
Yeah.
But being a 1/4 makes it, the one attack. Yes, you might be able to kill a Leper Gnome and then ping the shield off of an Argent Squire, but that situation's not going to come up. People always talk about cards, but there's this one play that you can make, this perfect situation, and you cannot evaluate cards based on the perfect situation.
Exactly. To reference the Magic podcast, I'd like limited resources. The host of that show, Marshall, whenever they do card evaluation, he is always talking about, and I quote, "What a card asks of me." So what does a card ask of you so that it's a good play? And that's something you should always be thinking about, because if you're using the word "if" multiple times in your description of how this card can be good, it's not a good card.
Yeah.
It did. I don't know. 4 health though, sometimes that could be difficult for somebody to remove right away.
That is the.
It's beefy.
Yeah, but he only has one attack, so who cares if it stays on the board? He's a tickle monster.
But he stays on the board not because of his attack. He stays on the board, and you want him to stay on the board because of his effect.
Because of his passive effect.
That's
yeah.
Right,
but let's talk about a card that is a 1/4 for 2 mana, which is the Armor Smith, right? And why is the Armor Smith good? And the Armor Smith is good because what it does synergizes with maybe 6 other cards in that deck. And that is why it is so good in Control Warrior. It builds up your armor really quickly early on, which is a resource you can use later with things like Shield Slam. You can also Cruel Taskmaster it, and suddenly you've got a 3/3 that can actually take a few things out. You put a bunch of minions down, you Whirlwind, and you built up a whole bunch of armor, which makes you impossible to kill. There's so many ways that card actually affects you in a positive way. Whereas in this one, it's just, I might screw with you for a couple of turns, and then you kill it and whatever, and my benefit is gone. And that's why a card like that is actually a good card, and a card like this, you're going to have to build a deck around. So, again, there's all these ifs, and that's why it's not going to be that great.
Yeah, yeah. There'll be times where I play this card, but it's not taking home any awards. So, let's move on to the next one, which is Nerubian Egg, which you get for defeating Maexna. I'm having the hardest time saying that. You have no idea how much my brain is tweaking.
Maexna!
It's Maxina. That's what my raid always called it. I still remember my raid leader just yelling at me. Maxina, watch out for the ads. Don't get webbed.
And you guys called it Anixia, right?
No,
and
that one
Alex Strasnia and...
Anixia had, vowels in the proper place. I didn't have any issues with Anixia. Anyway, let's talk about the Nerubian Egg, which may not be my highest graded card, but this card wins for the cool factor. This is the coolest card this week. I love this card.
it's the best one.
Yep. Okay. So it's a neutral minion. It's a rare as far as rarity is concerned. It costs 2 mana. It has 0 attack and 2 health, and a death rattle that reads "Summon a 4/4 Nerubian." Okay.
Yep.
So let's talk about this card real quick. Dills, the floor is yours.
This is the only card that got an A in either category for me. I give it an A in Constructed, and a B- in Arena. And I give it an A in Constructed because you can build a deck that actually gets to utilize this card. For 2 mana, you can essentially get 4/6 worth of stats eventually, right? And a 4/4 is an incredibly strong body for 2 mana. And it's not hard to build a deck that has a lot of ways to activate this card. It really is not difficult. There's so many buff cards in the game. And it's an awesome card. And it's gonna be, it's gonna be really good in decks that can do that. It's not gonna be good in decks that cannot. But even when it's not good in a deck that can't activate it, it still makes it so the opponent cannot, say, Flame Strike you or Consecrate you. It's got that magical only 2 health thing.
Yeah,
which means it's pretty easy to kill.
Like, even when it's not doing your dream scenario where you've buffed the egg itself and have gotten to remove something, kill the egg, and then spawn your 4/4. Even when it's just sitting there, it's this dead 0/2. It's a deterrent. It's a deterrent to Wrath effects, which is an awesome thing. It hasn't existed really in this game until now.
Nope.
It's been maybe Tyrion Forge Ring. You're like, I don't want to kill it because I don't want Ashbringer to come out. But that's like a really specific scenario, and you still need to kill Tyrion because it's a good card by himself.
Sure, sure.
This is a card that's like, I don't care if it's alive, but oh crap, all of a sudden you're giving mages a reason to second guess that Flame Strike.
Yeah. Well, not only that, if it gets played against me, I also like to evaluate a card based on how it feels when it gets played against me. And when this card gets played against me, there's like a feeling of dread that I know at some point this 4/4 is going to come popping out of this thing and it's going to suck. And I can leave it alone. It's kind of like with the Ancient Watcher where you just leave it alone, then crap, it's a 5/6 with Taunt. And you wish you'd done something about it earlier. This is a card that's going to affect other people's decks because now we're going to see a lot of Ironbeak Owls. We're going to see a lot of Spellbreakers because if you can silence this thing, you've basically taken away a huge weapon in the other person's deck, and it's going to change how the meta is complete. It already has changed.
I think you've removed the minus I added to the B and Constructed on this card. The more you talk about it, the more I fall in love with it. I was already in love with this card.
Yeah.
Now I'm just like, I want to take it on a freaking date. I like this card.
But I want to hear Jocelyn's point of view because she graded this thing
You are hard on the Nerubian egg, Jocelyn.
Yeah.
And I want everyone to know.
She hates eggs.
I want everyone to know that that I had my grades in on the show notes first. So earlier today, Jocelyn's texting me like, "You're so mean to these cards. I'm going to give them all A's so they feel nice." And Jocelyn gave this thing a C in Constructed and a D in Arena. What's going on here, Jocelyn?
You're stealing my thunder. Not even letting me say my grades this time. You're so pissed, eh?
I'm just cutting straight to the chase. Defend yourself.
Okay, basically exactly what Dill said. Yes, this card is awesome, yay, except for it's changed the meta so fast that I don't really think it's that, not that it's not useful, because if you can make use of it, it's awesome, but I think that my argument for the spider is really against the egg, is everyone silences this or removes it somehow, and it makes it so that you can't use it how you would like to. You want to get that 4/4. You want to get that 4/4 as soon as possible. And it does prevent people from, doing board clear. But at the same time, it's bait for, I guess, bait, yay. But at the same time, you're getting silenced all the time. As soon as this comes out, I haven't actually seen it work. Really? Every single time I see it come out, I'm silencing it. Or
you're clearly not playing Zulok.
No,
because it just works. Turn 2, turn 3, Void Terror, bam, big fat Void Terror and a 4/4 on turn 3.
Yeah, that is like the dream scenario. Or you do them both at the same turn. Actually, though, I was my initial thought on this card was run a zoo deck that had 2 Power Overwhelmings in it as well, and 2 Void Terrors. So I went full crazy. I mean, I went.
You're living the dream,
yeah. So, but here's the thing.
The 2-egg Void Terror is awesome.
It worked all the time. I put out the egg on turn 2, and then on turn 3 I would power overwhelming it, and then attack something, kill something, whatever. And then if I had like coin Void Terror, I was then coin Void Terror, and I'd have a 6/8 or something on turn 4.
Yeah, so
stuff like that was insane.
But Mouse Divided in the chat room is making my exact same point here, is saying if I see this card in a Zoolock or like in a Warlock at all, I'm going to silence it. I'm not going to care about the late game, especially with the deck my Hunter deck. Like I have my Owl and that goes down and the egg is worthless and I keep going because my Owl's still a beast. So it's not like I'm losing anything by using that silence. And if my game's not done by turn 6, then, I'm probably going to lose anyway.
I don't disagree with anything you've said, Jocelyn. You make all good points.
But there's a lot of ifs there too. If you have the silence in your hand.
I was just gonna say this is actually something I kind of came up with when I was looking at my Exna, the card, not the boss. I was really kind of hating on her, and then I came up on her a little bit because I realized my biggest complaint about Exna, it was that she dies to removal. You know what? Everything dies to removal. Mm-hmm. You know, anything suffers from silence if it has a card effect. So it's something it's not something that I feel I can necessarily use as a major negative, because every other card that has a card effect suffers equally.
Mm-hmm. Well, not only that, but when you build a deck that has a lot of ways to buff a card, even if they do silence it, you have an 0/2 that you then buff the next turn, and you still get some value out of the card.
Now,
so
that being said, I was harsher than Dills. I gave it a B- in constructed. I think I came up to a B after listening to Dills talk, but I still stick by my.
I was gonna say you said B-. I said C. I wasn't that hard. No, I was like one below you.
I think you're a little rough in Arena. I gave it a C-. I think D. The thing is, I think that you are going to have your scenarios in Arena, where it's just going to be a dead card.
It'll happen.
Yeah,
you can't bank on your opponent having wrath effects. It's a good chance they'll have them. There's a lot of common wrath effects in the game, but they're not necessarily going to have any board clears. And there's going to be a chance you're going to get nothing that can buff this guy to make it be able to kill itself.
Yeah.
But the reason that I think it's still a B- in Arena is that the way to get to 12 wins in Arena is to beat at least 6 mages along the way. This card is going to be epic against mages.
I cannot.
On turn 6, if I have this in my hand and I throw it down and I have 3 things on the board, and then they have 7 mana next turn, they flame strike me. I still have a 4/4, and I'm still coming at them. So just for that one reason alone, I think it's still going to be a card that I'll pick in Arena quite often. And I think in Arena, I'm always picking Defenders, Dark Iron Dwarves. I'm always picking cards like that, and I know that the Paladins are all picking Consecrates, and I know that the Mages are all picking Flame Strikes, so it's still going to get value either way. And, so this card, I think, just changes a lot of different ways people play the game. It's going to change the way I pick in Arena. It's going to change the way I construct a lot of decks. I think this is the game-changing card out of this set.
And before this even came out, before we've had a chance to play with it, we were looking at this and going, this is a game-changer, and it's nice to see that it's true, that it is having this big effect on the game itself. So
worst case scenario is the Cabal Shadow Priest, which, by the way, that card got a buff from this set of cards.
You're damn right it did.
I think Priest got a buff from this set of cards.
Exactly. And let's talk a little bit about more of that possibly with this next card, which is of course Maexna.
What is it?
Maexna. Which is also awarded when you defeat my Exna on normal. She's a neutral minion. She is a beast, correct?
Yes.
Yes, she is a beast.
Big spider. Yeah.
Which is technically an arachnid, not a beast. Get it right.
Yeah, whatever.
She's still beastly.
In the Warcraft universe, spiders are beasts.
She is a legendary, so you can only have one of her.
You can tame them.
She costs 6 mana. She has 2 attack and 8 health, which I'm like, vanilla test. I'm like, what's going on here? And then I read the text, the card effect. Destroy any minion damaged by this minion. And on the surface, looking at this, I just cheered a little because in Magic, one of my favorite things is Death Touch. And there's only 2 damn cards in Magic with Death Touch, and they suck. They're terrible cards.
Well, now there's 3 in Hearthstone.
Maexna, I don't think she's terrible. I don't think she's like patient assassin level of bad.
Yeah.
But
Patient Assassin. I was like, there's only 2. What do you mean? There's the
No,
Cobra
there's
and
three.
and I forgot
Emperor
about the
Cobra,
Patient Assassin. Yeah.
and now my Exna. This is the one I'm the most like confused about. I'm not. I ended up giving it a C in construction and a B- in arena, but I'm honestly not too sure. I'm just confused by this card. It has wonky stats. I'm glad it doesn't die to a big game hunter. That makes me really happy. Because it doesn't need the big attack because it kills whatever it damages.
Yeah, the attack is basically only matters if it gets silenced and as what counters it.
Right.
That's the only reason
and it has enough health to make the death touch worth it. The problem with the Emperor Cobra and the problem with the Patient Assassins, they just die.
They die
usually
themselves. Yeah.
1-for-1ing
yourself. With my Exna, there's actually a chance of getting a 2-for-1 or even a best case scenario, a 3-for-1.
Dude, you could get like a 4-for-1 if you play a paladin or a priest or something like that.
Yeah,
because you can heal it or you can shield it or something like that.
Right, that's where I was going to go into. I feel like this card becomes significantly more valuable in a priest deck.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure so much with paladin.
I think a control paladin could make use of this because you put a shield on it and you kill an extra thing. So
control paladin's even running the guys that give divine shield anymore. I know I'm
some
not.
Some are
okay,
not all. I mean, not the Kalinto version, but there are definitely ones that are. I think recently I was watching a streamer who was running those guys in his paladin deck. So it depends.
Yeah.
So
it's
a stylistic thing.
So what'd you give it, Dills, and defend your choices?
I give it a C- in constructed and a C in arena. I think in constructed in the 6th slot for a neutral, I'm gonna want Sylvanas or Karen more than I'm gonna want Maexna. And that's really what it comes down to. I'm comparing this card to other 6-mana legendaries that I
agree with you
put in a deck
entirely, and that's why I gave it a C in constructed.
Yeah, but I do think that potentially in a priest deck you'll see somebody run this at some point and maybe find a way to make this work. The problem here too though is when you run against the priest, this card is going to get taken away from you, and that's going to really suck. It's going to be totally brutal if that happens. Whereas say like Sylvanas, if they Shadow Word Death that, you steal one of their creatures, so it's actually not bad for you when that happens, and that's why Sylvanas is good because it's tough to deal with. This card not really that tough to deal with
until this patch. We weren't seeing a lot of Shadow Word Pains being run.
No, we weren't, but I think you will because I think killing. There's now some creatures that and especially once all of the cards and Nax come out, I think you'll see a one of that, but I definitely think you're going to see a lot of Cabal Shadow Priests. I think it's going to be a really common card, and that card scares the hell out of me if I'm going to run this. So, yeah.
It's a very good point.
I mean, you're going to destroy an aggro deck if you get to turn 6 and you can throw this out there, though. You're just going to kill everything they throw down for a while.
And actually, in that scenario, this is a better card than, say, Cairn.
Sure.
Or Sylvanas. I, however, you gave it a C in arena. I gave it a B-. I think I'd be really happy to see this card in arena.
Well, here's the thing, though. I thought about what would be up against it in arena, and I'd more likely pick a lot of other... Because in there, it's not going to be necessarily 6 cost, whatever. But if it, even if it were, I would pick Black Knight over this. I would pick Karen. I would pick Sylvanas over this. I always go with Rag or Ysera in arena, always. So if they come up, I'm probably going to pick those. Most class legendaries, I'd probably pick over this. There's just a lot of legendaries I would definitely pick over this every time. So I was thinking about it up against 2 others.
Tankmaster, Nat Pegel.
If it goes up against Tankmaster and Nat Pegel or
even
Millhouse,
Baron, I would take it over Baron Geddon. I would take it over Millhouse. Might even take it over Alex Straza. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I would take Alex Straza over this.
Depends.
Alex Straza does a lot right when it comes out. So
that's a good point. Jocelyn, what about you?
Slightly higher in constructed. Again.
Good. I was about to ask you. Please take us home. Like, dude, give my Exna some love. Give my ex some love, Jocelyn.
Plus. So little bit higher. She's a beast, which is good, but at the same time, in my hunter deck for 6 mana, I have my high mains.
Yep.
They are so good.
Yeah, those are better.
And she dies to a Kodo, which is unfortunate.
Oh yeah, Kodo. We didn't even bring up Kodo, by the way. Yeah.
I just did. did.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying like we're talking about all this crap that affects it, and we didn't even mention Coda, which is amazing.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you, again, it's an if you get lucky and you have your 6 mana, you drop her down, you can next turn Houndmaster and then brings her up to 4, which gets her out of range of Kodo, gets her out of range of any priest spells, gives her 10 health, all taunty, and that's pretty fantastic. So, she's okay. She's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think she's B plus. I said in arena because I was just being more nicer. Yeah. There's really she's I think a middle of the road legendary with so few deck slots and so few options. I don't know. It depends what she's up against.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I agree. She's right through the middle, which is why I think she's floated. If you look at all of her grades, it's looking like she's averaging C across the board.
Yeah, and I think we all agree she's slightly better in arena because in arena you don't know what you're gonna get and you don't know what you're gonna get.
I mean, you see that a lot when you're doing card evaluation in Magic. A lot of times a card is higher graded in limited than it is in constructed, and noticing that it seems to be the case in Hearthstone as well. Sometimes you get where the constructed's higher than arena because I feel like combos are a little stronger in this game. But yeah, it's usually arena, in any limited environment, a card's going to be worth a little more because you don't always have a choice.
Well,
yeah,
exactly.
you can't take the best thing in that slot.
Right.
So.
And at 8 health, she's beefy. Like, she's not going to go down easily. Yeah. And in arena, it feels like it could act as a board clear, given, that you have no idea what you're going to have and what your opponent's going to have. I mean, 8 health is not a bad thing.
Yeah. I feel like if she was 5 mana, I would be just like stamping an A on this card.
She's a little bit, she's a little bit too high, I think.
It, but just that 6
Maybe
mana
not for balance, but just to be a go-to card, she's just a little bit too expensive.
Exactly. I'm just excited to see Death Touch. I want to see more cards that have this effect, that are actually playable. And I think my Exna teeters on playable, but it's not quite, doesn't quite make the cut. So
you know what I hope never makes it to Hearthstone, however?
Mildex?
First strike.
Oh, why? Oh, but
I don't like that at all.
Is so awesome.
Well, it's awesome when you have it, but
I don't think with the way Hearthstone works that it really has a place.
Okay, I don't know what it is, and we still have 2 more cards to get through.
Sorry.
So.
First strike assigns damage before the other thing assigns damage. Done.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
That's first strike.
Oh, if it's 2 3/2s or whatever attacking each other, the one with first strike lives and is still a 3/2, and I just don't like that.
Yeah.
And I don't think it makes sense in Hearthstone anyway.
I don't. Yeah, I agree.
In Magic, they resolve and then they go back to their full.
Yeah, you have the concept of the stack, which pretty much doesn't freaking exist in this game.
Exactly.
So there you go. Moving on to the next card, which is the Druid specific card, which you get from the Druid class challenge, Poison Seeds. It is the only non-minion card in the lineup this week. It is a Druid spell. It's a common rarity. It costs 4 mana, and it reads, destroy all minions and summon 2/2 treants to replace them.
Yep.
Love this card. Dills hates this card. Dills.
I don't hate it. I just don't think it's good right now. I gave
not
this
the criteria.
Yeah, but no, that is the criteria. It's not good right now, so it's a D and a D, and that's right now. I think once all the Death Rattle decks hit, I think this will be very good in a lot of those decks because you can decide when to activate all of your Death Rattles, and also get 2/2s for each of the creatures out there. But I think in the current state, and so I just wrote this article, the Itsy Bitsy Meta Shift, for Hearthhead. And I had people doing exactly what we talked about, which is all these if scenarios where they go, hey, I saw somebody do this really awesome play where they played Force of Nature and then they played this and then they kept their 2/2s. And I said, so wait, so you're telling me that you think an awesome play is to deal 6 damage to the hero and then have 3 2/2s on the board for 10 mana? That's the awesome play that this does for you? Because that sounds like that sucks. That is not good at all. So if I do Force of Nature, I can't even trade with them because it's going to kill them. If they're already dead, I don't get any 2/2s to replace them. So that's not a good combo.
Yeah, I disagree. I feel like this works. Throw one in as a garnish in a token druid deck.
Okay.
I mean, look at.
But what are you doing with it ultimately though in a token druid deck? Ultimately, you're turning all of your existing creatures into 2/2s. And turning theirs into 2/2s as well, which I understand. And you may have more creatures on the board than they do. But you may be turning creatures that you've already buffed to hell with all of your crazy buff cards in a
in
Druid
that
deck.
scenario, it's bad and you'd be dumb to play it. But this is a very good card if you're behind.
Okay.
And that's a very good thing. That is not particularly
but
common
again,
in
though,
Hearthstone.
here's the other thing. It doesn't turn them into 2/2s with charge. So on your turn, what you're effectively doing is turning all your creatures that can attack. So, okay, I attack with them, I attack with them, attack with them. Then I turn them all into 2/2s, and then I end my turn, and then the other guy wipes my board. And what the hell did I just do? I didn't really do anything. And yes, you can like get through their taunts or whatever, but you can't do that and then attack with all of your 2/2s that you just made. They're all sitting there with summoning sickness.
So
okay.
Hold on a sec. So I gave it you gave it a D across the board. I gave it
Compose your thoughts so I can shit on them.
Yes. You gave it a D in constructed, a D in arena. I gave it a B plus in constructed and a B plus in arena. And the scenario I want to lay out for you, or the facts I want to throw at you and see how you react is, think about when Tinkmaster was king, Dills. Why was Tinkmaster king? Because there's a slew of cards out there that you would have rather have been a 5/5 in a worst case scenario than be whatever the hell they are.
But
this
you wanted to get rid of that one card, and this I have to get rid of my whole deck too, my whole side of the board too, and I have to do it like I can't decide. That's why Tink was so good, and that's why Tinkmaster sucks now, because it's random and I'm doing it to everything. It's not good. I need to choose.
This is consistently a 2/2 in a class that has the best, really the only playable Anthem effects in this game.
Okay.
So oh man, I really.
But you can't like give them all charge after you do it. Like you're basically, all you're doing is equaling the board. This is basically a quality for 4 mana. That's what this is. And that's not good. Quality is 2 mana. That's why it's good. It's 2 mana. I wiped the board. This is not a good card. And it will be good once you have your Death Rattle deck. It will be good. I'm not saying that it won't be good ever.
Well, it's coming in the next
current situation.
It's coming
right
over
now.
the course of the next 4 weeks. So
not
I
good.
don't know. I think this is, and also all I have to just say is Naturalize. This is the class with the worst hard removal in the game, and I think this is a good substitute.
See, but I think that Druid has plenty of tools to get through stuff.
Well, they do.
They have a million ways to be able to deal with your board, and in fact, I would say that Druid is maybe an OP class as far as dealing with stuff, just because Naturalize is their only hard removal. You don't actually see hard removal in any deck except for Shaman right now. I don't think that, mages aren't playing Polymorph, rogues aren't playing Assassinate. No one's playing these cards that just outright kill stuff, and they have all this they have all these ways with, say, swipe, and then of course the creatures that I play are so beefy that they can get through stuff anyway. So I don't think that's it's not like a thing that's missing from the Druid deck is, oh, I wish I could turn everything into 2/2s. It's like just not a thing that was missing for them. So I don't think this benefited Druid yet. And I think it will when you, say, have an entire board that's full of Death Rattle card effects, and they have, say, Tyrion. So I turn Tyrion into 2/2, and then I turn all my little crappy whatevers with Death Rattles into 2/2s plus get the effect of the Death Rattle, which is a benefit. Then it will be good. But then there's a lot of ifs to that one. So it's just, I don't know. I think right now it's an exciting card that I don't think is actually as good as some people think it is.
Okay. I disagree with you. Jocelyn,
Sure.
What are your thoughts?
I'm more in the Garrett camp. For once, I know.
I actually just now looked at your grades. I'm like, holy shit, Jocelyn, you're being generous.
Yeah, no, I gave it both A's, and I did this because I paid really close attention to your grading system, and it said stabilizes the board, and I was like, well, everybody gets 2 2s. That's pretty stable. So, yeah. I mean, really, but then I also I haven't played with it yet. I don't really. Druid's not. It's kind of middle of the road class for me. I play it sometimes, but not often. So, I mean, I haven't played with Poison Seeds yet, so I missed the whole destroying minions, triggering death rattles, and that whole complicatedness. So, I mean, that was my bad. So, no, it shouldn't be A's. But I'm still higher than D's. Dills, that's a little bit rough.
I'm honestly, a lot of the stuff that I agree with you. Yeah, it's bad if you're ahead, but you're ahead. Who cares? Don't play the card.
Yeah. No,
Okay,
it's. I
so
think it's a
dead
good come from
So-
behind.
It's a dead card
assuming-
if you're winning, which means you're already winning, so you're okay. If you're losing badly, this stabilizes the board for you.
No, not really. If you're losing badly and they have 5 creatures on board and you have 2 creatures on board, they still have 5 2/2s and you have 2 2/2s.
But I don't know. I
But
feel
that's
like
probably
not
better
stable.
than what they were.
Oh yeah, it's better, but you're
originally.
still losing, and you spent 4 mana to do it. Like that, I don't know. I see the scenarios. I've thought about these scenarios. I'm like, it's just there's specific moments this is going to be good, and
Yeah.
I don't think
Which
that
is- that's
that
pretty
this
standard,
this
though,
doesn't
across-
turn the game around.
Yeah.
Because
that's
if you
pretty
do a quality consecrate, right, you clear the board and you did it for 6 mana. If I want to do a similar play with this card in a druid deck, I'm talking about
you're comparing
this
this to one
card.
of the best combinations in the entire game.
Yeah, but they do the same thing effectively. Not only that, but like you might lose attack power. So you play for 9 mana, you play this card and Starfall, and you do the same thing that Paladin could do for 6 mana, and you might still have things like Divine Shields on your guys, Death Rattles on your guys, all that stuff. And you can still attack with your guys that same turn. And in this case, you turn all your guys
you
into
attack
2/2s
first. It's not
and
like
can't
this locks. It doesn't lock you out of attacking.
Yes, it does. It turns them into
Before
new creatures.
You attack before you.
Yeah, but if
you
you're
use
turning
this.
a bunch of taunt creatures into 2/2s, basically your other option is to run all my creatures into the taunt or whatever, and then lose them. I mean, that's very few scenarios where I'm behind, and it's because they don't have like some taunts up or whatever. I just think in reality, and I think you guys will find if you guys go out and play this card that it's not that good. And I stick by my story. I'm from Jamaica.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I like this, by the way. I'm really. I was like. I didn't read ahead to see your grades, Dills, and I'm really excited that we were so divided on a card.
Oh yeah. I think that this card could be good if it was maybe cheaper. I see this as being definitely not 4 mana card, or if it again if all the Death Rattle crap came out at the same time, but this card came out before all that stuff did. So right now, for this week, totally useless.
Yeah.
After 4 weeks, it's going to be good in certain decks.
Fair enough. Dr. Von Doom in the chat room makes a good point that I was thinking, but I don't think I illustrated, which is there's really no point in comparing this to other classes because it's not an option. You can't run Equality. You can't run a Consecrate in a Druid deck. So
No, that's a bad point because you definitely want to compare stuff. Remember when there was a card called Shiv back in the day that was 1 mana and it was do 1 damage, draw a card? And then there was another card called Mortal Coil that did 1 damage, draw a card if the guy dies. Those are 2 different classes that can't run the same card, but the mana cost of the 2 cards is definitely something you got to compare. And you got to say, like, is this a good card? And why is this a good card and this one's a bad card? Because the mana cost, you know what I mean? Like, that's how you equate one card to another.
Right, but that's also the same reason why I think I'm giving it a higher score, because I'm also looking at the class that has the best board-wide buffs. It's really the only class that has board-wide buffs that you can play. Yeah, Shaman has Bloodlust. Bloodlust is a dead card in most scenarios.
Yeah, Bloodlust isn't a reason to
Druid has Savage Roar. Druid has Power of the Wild. If you're running a token deck, there's a good chance you're running 2 of those. So you have 4 cards in your 30-card deck that can buff creatures, and there's going to be scenarios where you didn't pull your Force of Nature. So, well, okay, he's got a couple taunts up, but I have a couple guys on. I could actually kill him right now if I turn that into a 2/2 with no taunt, Savage Roar, or Force of Nature and win.
No, you can't attack with them.
Oh,
you turn your 2 guys
right.
into
That's a good
2/2s
point.
with Summoning
That's
Sickness.
You're right. That's a good point. That's a good point. Okay, fair enough.
That is an important
enough.
thing that is a huge distinction in this card.
That's a good point. Good point.
You turn all your guys who can attack
Fair
into
enough.
guys who can't.
Fair enough. Okay. How do you kill a Ragnaros with a Druid? Oh, wait, you don't. Moving on.
Yeah.
A new bar.
Well, no, yeah, you do. You run 2 creatures into it, and then you play 3 more. You innervate out 3 more creatures. Easy peasy.
Yeah, there's no ifs in there at all. Final card, the Anubar Ambusher, which I'm surprised to see we're pretty much on the same page, except for Jocelyn, who doesn't have anything.
Comment.
All right, so the Anubar Ambusher is the final card this week. It's a rogue-specific card. It comes from the rogue class challenge. It's a minion. It's a common rarity. It is 4 mana, and it has 5 attack, 5 health, which if I didn't read anything else, I would just throw a party right now and declare this the best card in the game. But it has text. What does it say, guys? It says Death Rattle, return a random minion to your hand. Okay, so there's an obvious downside, but also a possible upside. I feel like this is one of the few cards where I look at the text, I'm like, okay, this is kind of a seesaw. This could be an upside or it could be a downside, depending on the situation. I mean, looking at Dills and Jocelyn, either of you get in on this. Looking at like the way Miracle is currently working, a lot of your early minions, there aren't a lot of. You've got your SI7 agent and you've got your Earthen Ring Farseer. That's really your only early game minions. I wouldn't be unhappy to get either of those back into my hand.
No, but you don't. I would say Miracle Rogue is kind of mana locked in a lot of those turns, around turn 7 or 8, and you really don't want to be playing a 3 mana card again. So it's, you'd rather be playing an Auctioneer and then a bunch of preps and spells, and instead you might have to be playing these cards again. I don't know. I think that this card doesn't work in Constructed as well as it looked like it might. And I've seen, I saw Trump fail miserably to make this card work in basically a tempo rogue deck. And I've seen other people who play a lot of Miracle Rogue try to make something like this work and just go, you know what? Nope. I'd rather have a Yeti here if I was going to have something like this. Because you're not really losing much with one less attack. And it's just, it just doesn't really work. It seems like it could be cool. And I think it's actually fine in Arena where you don't get mana locked quite as often. But I think in Constructed everything is too carefully put into place. So
that's a very good point. I asked that question. I still ended up giving it a C in Constructed, but that when I saw this card, that was my first reaction. I was like, well, there's hardly any minions in the early game anyway with Miracle, so why not play this game or this card?
Yeah.
But you made a really good point that really the cards that are Miracle Rogue is so finely tuned that it's hard to justify taking out any cards to put this card in.
That's true. I can't see a card that would take out for this card at all. And then the other thing I think is that mana is such a huge resource for the Miracle Rogue that all of your plays, you're trying to figure out how to get the most value you can out of each little bit of mana and try to play as many cards as you can to cycle through to get that big killing combination. And if you have a card like this and suddenly you pull back a card that you didn't have to use the mana to play back, it's suddenly going to mess up that whole tempo that you had built up. So it's a card that could potentially be cool in some rogue decks that we haven't seen built yet. Cards that you definitely want to play back again. But at this point, currently, I don't know. But I think in Arena, I've actually seen people play it against me and it'd be pretty decent. Because it's a hard card to deal with. It's a big body.
It's a Yeti with an extra attack with a possible downside.
Yeah. But again, I would rather have a Yeti. If I saw this card next to a Yeti and I was doing Rogue in Arena, I would pick Yeti every time. Because I just think Yeti's going to do almost the exact same thing. There's very few times where I need 5 attack and 4 is not going to cut it. So, it's just, to me, the downside is a little too much.
It's a good point. But you gave it a C+ in Constructed and a B in Arena. I gave it a C in Constructed and a B- in Arena. So I think we're in the
we're pretty
similar
close here.
boat. Jocelyn, what do you think?
Jocelyn declined.
I declined to comment. I gave it X's.
That's what I wanted to give my X now because I wasn't sure. I'm just like, I want to like this card because I love Death Touch, but it's just this card just confuses me. I'm not sure where it fits. So is that what this card is for you?
Well, this card is a rogue card, and I just, I do not have the knowledge to comment.
This is gonna be me when the Warrior card comes up. I'm just be like,
it's gonna be me again when Warrior comes up. Everything else I think I can comment on, but Rogue and Warrior, like I still don't have all my basic Warrior cards because I'm just like Warrior, F that noise.
I got it just to get it, but yeah, I'm more or less in the same. You can go look at my levels. The Warrior is the lowest leveled hero of my entire account.
Yeah, so I defer to you.
Fair
both.
enough.
You both, not just Garrett.
I think I'm going to be picking this sucker a lot in Arena. I don't see it in my Constructed deck any time in the near future.
No.
I can see maybe down the road.
Someone made a point, though, that the Poison Seeds kills Concealed Auctioneers, but I'm not going to be worried about Miracle Rogues anymore come Wednesday. because Lotheb will be out. So
What does Lotheb do? I know we're not.
That
Lotheb
reviewing
makes-
right.
+5 cost to spells.
all spells cost 5 more the next turn.
Oh yes, death to Miracle Rogues.
Yeah, Miracle Rogue is gone.
Guys,
Enjoy it while you can, everybody.
party at
Miracle
my
Rogue.
house. I'm gonna celebrate the death of the Miracle Rogue.
Yeah, the concealed action there is no longer something you need to gear up against.
Oh man, I know we're over time. You have another show to get to. Dills, you stick around or do you have to run?
If we could pound through some of this stuff in maybe 10 minutes, then I'm good.
All right, we'll see how fast we can go through emails. We understand you have to bounce out.
Maybe we should cut one of these.
Let's get into this week's emails.
Hello?
Hello, it's me.
Hello?
Just quickly, do you get my message?
Yep.
Oh,
Hello, brother.
Emails into the tacpodcast@gmail.com. Our first email to us comes to us today from David M, who writes, Fairy Dragon gets targeted by heroic Maxina's hero power. How do you report bugs? And the answer is it's random. It's not targeted.
It's
Yeah,
not targeted,
that's
not a bug.
targeted. Yeah.
Yeah,
See?
It's
Fast
very
emails.
important to make that distinction. When something is targeted, you have to aim at it. So you'll see a little aimer and read the thing. It says 2 random minions.
Yep. So
Bam.
random is fine. Fairy Dragon dies to Lightning Storm, to Flame Strike, to Consecrate because they're not targeted.
Or
And the hero
deadly
power.
shot.
Deadly,
Yeah.
Deadly
Deadly
shot that
shot.
hits some single random thing. If there's
Yep.
only that on the board, it'll hit it.
Yeah.
Or
That
pop.
hero power also goes through stealth.
Yes.
Same reason.
Yes, absolutely. So it's not a bug. You don't have to report it.
Nope.
Dills, you want to take the next one?
Yeah. This is from Harrison B. Hey guys, long time listener, first time emailer. I had an idea for an awesome combo and I'm wondering if it is possible. One of the new cards in Nax is the Echoing Ooze, which summons an exact copy of itself at the end of the turn. Would it be possible then to summon a Tinkmaster, turn the Ooze into a 5/5, and then have it copy that? The reason I think it could work is that the summon an exact copy attribute is a battle cry, meaning it happens as soon as the card is played. While the Tinkmaster essentially silences anything it targets, I don't believe that would apply here since the action has already been played when the card was drawn, hence the battle cry. Let me know what you guys think. Turn 5 Ooze plus Tink play could get you 2 5/5s on the board if I'm understanding the card right, although I doubt this will make Tinkmaster any more viable and constructed. It could make for some really weird and fun plays. Thanks, love the show. I'm going to say that it doesn't work.
I don't.
I think I'm in the same boat as you. We can't test
Yeah.
this. I'm so mad.
We can't test it because this card is actually not coming out until the very last wing of Nax. So yeah, we don't have a chance to mess around with this. But
No, if you want to play it and then like Argus it and Shattered Sun Cleric it, yeah, it gets all the stats. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Because
but-
you're still buffing your ooze. You're not
Yeah, I feel like if
changing
the
what it
ooze
is.
becomes
yeah, you're
something else.
transforming the ooze into another creature entirely.
Yeah.
And I think you
that's
could
where the issue
even
is.
I think you could even make the argument that makes sense with the rules because it's supposed to be making a copy of the ooze, not the copy of a devil sore. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's no
Although
longer an
the
ooze.
animation around it, the oozy gooey stuff, it persists through all the chain. Like if you make taunt, then it goes around taunt and stuff like that. I don't. Maybe the oozy stuff will stay regardless of what happens to what's inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think
Maybe.
so.
I
just
fall in
think
the
once
same
it's
camp as
not
you
an
guys.
ooze anymore, like this is actually kind of an interesting battle cry because I don't think this battle cry goes off the moment
At the
you play
beginning,
it.
yeah.
Because if it went off the moment you played it, then it would copy it as a 1/3, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what happens is it actually goes off at the end of the turn and copies whatever it has become at that point.
Yeah.
So it's
if the text isn't there to go
Mm-hmm.
off essentially at the end of the turn, then
yeah.
you're out of luck.
But there's a lot of other awesome stuff you can do with this guy.
Oh, yeah,
so
this card is
I
cool.
think it's still going to be pretty sweet.
Yeah, Dolomite, it is in the Druid deck, but there's no Tinkmaster in the Druid deck, so... Is there a Poison Seeds in the Druid deck? Because that's kind of the same question. If it turns into a...
yeah, so actually that would allow you to try it out.
If it
I
turns
did. I
into a-
played this when I did the Druid challenge, but yeah, you don't have a Tinkmaster in there, so you can't test it.
Yeah, if it turns into a 2/2 treant and then makes another 2/2 treant, then yes, but I don't think so. I'm going to go with...
Yeah,
just
no, I don't.
The way this game works, I don't think so. Jocelyn, you want to take the final email?
Sure. This one comes from Felix M. He says, "Dear Tac Crew, my cousin and I were chatting about cousin and I were chatting about the shaman, and we got onto the topic of totems. As it goes, you can only get one totem at a time. So in the interest of science, I suggested
Science!
I suggested we try my chamois deck, and I would try to take a totem off the board using one of the panda cards, return a friendly minion, etc. I put down a healing totem and took it off the board, and then eventually played another healing totem. Success! I then noticed that I had 2 faceless manipulators in my hand, and here's the picture. So there's a picture in our show notes of a shaman with 4 healing totems.
Congratulations.
If this was back when the healing totem healed you, the hero, as well. Oh my god, that'd be insane.
Yeah, that would have been a little ridiculous. I have a question. I have a question. There's only 4 types of totems, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I've never had more than 4 totems. What happens if you try and summon a 5th?
You can't even push the hero power once you have
I
one
don't-
of each kind.
I just
anyway.
realized that in all the shaman I've played, I've never had that happen.
Yeah, I've had it happen quite a few times. But yeah, basically, if you have one of each type, you can't even use the hero power anymore. If you
Okay.
get one back in your hand, though, you can still use it again. Then
Then deploy the copy.
yeah, and then you can deploy the copy.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
however you do that, there's lots of other ways. to do
Man,
it,
that's
but-
wonky. Okay. Well, hooray,
So
science. Thank you, Felix.
Yay, science. So he said that it actually brings up more questions. Is it a bug, and should it happen if it isn't a bug? He said it was really funny seeing the heels go off, and he loves the show. So no, it's not a bug.
Not a bug.
Because
Working as intended.
you're playing a totem as opposed to summoning a totem, because
exactly.
everything that you did, you either copied it, in which case it's copy, or it was back in your hand and you replayed it, which is
Yeah,
different.
it's the same reason why it's possible to get more than one legendary through Faceless
Yeah.
Manipulator. Otherwise, that would also be a bug, but it's not.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, and when something goes back into your hand, if it was a totem or say a token, which is a creature that popped out when you summoned another creature. So like you play the 5 mana 4/4 and 2/2, and it's the Squire. It says Squire attend me. There's actually a card called Squire. So if I put that back in my hand, that card actually has a mana cost and everything. So at that point, it's just a card in your hand, so you can replay it anytime you want.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for your emails again. The email is tacpodcast@gmail.com. That brings us to the end of this very beefy episode. I feel like there could be beefy episodes for the next 5 weeks, guys. Well,
Yeah, probably.
4 weeks now. But anyways, thanks for sticking around for it. As always, I want to thank you guys, the patrons of this fine show, because you make it happen. Again, the first ever Patreon Google Hangout will be happening tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Check patreon.com/TAC for info on how to call into that and join in on the Q&A with us. So anyway, this week we wanted to thank, as always, some of the patrons. So this week I want to thank Sparky Shocker, Paul R., Scott A.,
Yeah,
Scott
Sparky Shocker, go Giants!
Yeah, Scott V and Brad P. 2 Scotts this week. Thank you guys very much for backing our show here. It's still insane to me that anyone thinks that we're worth paying. I think it's awesome. Thank you guys. And as
You're worth it, Garrett.
yeah,
You are worth it, sir.
because I'm worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I can
You're
afford
good
to,
enough. You're smart enough. Gosh darn it.
maybe
People like-
I can afford to shave off this awful sick/vacation beard. I don't
Yeah,
know.
get
Maybe-
rid of that.
Maybe I'll keep it. I don't know. I kind of like it. I look like a hobo. Also, want to thank those of you who are leaving us reviews in the iTunes store this week. I wanted to thank Derek F, Scott Tight K, Dan with some tildes. You guys have weird names. Hardvark. I like that name. What about from Canada, Jocelyn?
Ratherian from Canada left us a 5-star
You
review.
didn't give that nearly enough gusto. That's
Sorry.
Ratherion.
But no, it's Anne, not on.
Whatever. Sounds awesomer that way. Dills, what crazy country have you pulled a review from this week?
I got one from Spain. This one is from, I think it's Limerick. It's just LM or it could be Emmerich. I don't know. But the review says, thumbs up, let's do this.
Oh, right.
I think it's supposed to be PS, but he put PD. Hi, Dills. So, hi, Limerick.
Don't say hi to the rest of us. That's very rude.
Yeah, no.
He said hi to Dills. It's fine.
So rude.
I'm sure it was implied, heavily implied, that he was saying hi to you as well. But I like the thumbs up. Let's do this. A little Leroy nod there.
Wonderful. At
That was
least
nice.
I have chicken.
Yep.
At least
And I didn't have to read it in Spanish, so thanks, Spain. I actually had a few tweets from people saying they enjoyed listening to me fumble through the German a couple weeks ago.
I love that too, man. I was one of those tweets.
I can't wait till I get to do ones from like Estonia and stuff. This is gonna be awesome. If you're out there and you're in Estonia right now, leave a review so I can read it, please.
Well, as always, guys, check out the main site, amove.tv, that has everything Angry Chicken, the show notes, embedded posts, the VODs, all that jazz. Again, check out the Patreon, patreon.com/TAC. The forum is at forum.amove.tv. We record live every Monday night, except for last Monday night, at 10 p.m. Eastern Time on twitch.tv/amovetv. If you're not following the channel, please do so. The mobile live stream is provided by Alpha Geek Radio, which you can get at alphageekradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at TAC Podcast. I can be found at Garrett Art. Dills can be found at Willie Dills, and Jocelyn can be found at GIS Gamer. Also, big thanks to Brian Griffith, the musician responsible for our intro music. His website is briangriffithmusic.com. And you can see my personal graphic design work over at nomoonart.com. Dills, where can people find you when you're not talking about this one specific Blizzard game?
Well, you can listen to me talk about all the other specific Blizzard games, like World of Warcraft. On the Instance the Instance is Friday mornings at 9 a.m. Pacific time. And then, of course, there is Into the Nexus with Garrett and Kyle. That is Thursday evening.
Got a big show this week.
There's a lot to talk about. People are mad right now.
I think they're mad about the wrong thing,
got,
too.
of course, the Torturecast podcast about the second place San Francisco Giants, which makes me very upset. And then if you're a mediocre golfer or a bad golfer or even a good golfer, you should check out the Mediocre Golf Association, which I co-founded. And we have tournaments all the time. It's awesome. And there's a guy in Australia, and he was a big a sporty type, as they might say in Australia. He liked his footy and whatnot. Unfortunately, he got hurt, and now he is a quadriplegic.
Oh.
And but we are some people put together a GoFundMe to try to buy him some sort of machine that will allow him to play golf. And so what I'm going to do is we have a tournament on Sunday, and for every stroke that I get, so whatever my final score is, I will donate $1 for each one of those. I'm trying to get other MGA players to do the same, and we'll see if we do it. He only needs like $12,000 to do this thing, so it's not that much really. And if it allows this guy to come out and play golf, that's friggin' sweet. So yeah, so if you go to mgatour.com, you can see more information about that and about playing some golf.
Damn, yeah, go check that out. Wow.
Yeah, this guy's rad. He just wants to play some golf, man. Just wants to play some golf.
Get him out
And
there,
I
guys.
support that.
Yeah, that's something that's something that needs some attention. Jocelyn, how about yourself?
Well, you can find me every Friday night right here on AMove TV for the Gamers Inn. That's at 8:30 Eastern. We're starting all of our Extra Life charity prep, so that's in October, but we're starting early this year. So it was super fun last year. We did amazingly well. We raised over $4,000, so we're gonna do it again.
I'm officially inviting myself on to talk about Destiny at some point. You can figure out when. But I played that yesterday, and that game is just oozing everything Garrett likes about video games.
Fair enough. I was going to have you both on to do like Hearthstone, but if you really don't want to do Hearthstone.
F that, man. I'm so sick of talking about Hearthstone. Let's talk about some other game. No.
Fair enough. We're also doing a Wolf Among Us giveaway right now for anyone who sends us in rules to our drinking game, because we're going to end Extra Life with the drinking game and lots of smite. So,
That's awesome. Fables
if you send
is
drinking game rules, you can get entered in a draw for a copy of Wolf Among Us. I've also been streaming a lot on Twitch. You can find me there. I'm just GIS Gamer. And I wanted to say thank you very much to Mike from Vegas, who sent me a Hearthstone shirt, which
nice.
I'm now wearing. So thank you very much, Mike. It's awesome and fits perfect.
I'm officially the only host that doesn't have a proper Hearthstone shirt.
Wow. Well, we can fix that, man.
Yeah, we need to fix that. Anyways, thank you all for tuning in. Thanks to our sponsors, DogHouseSystems.com. The code to use is TAC, and that'll get you double memory on your next Doghouse Systems gaming rig. Every time that code is used, it directly supports the show. It gets you a good deal and a banging awesome gaming rig. And also check out the Angry Chicken Special Edition Doghouse System while you're over there. Tell them we sent you. We thank them for their support. We thank you all for listening. But until next week... Job's done.
Job's done.
Job's done.
Yes.
Never gets old.
Last week, didn't you?
Yeah, I was looking forward to that.
There is
all week long.
There's a hole in my soul when I don't when I don't end my Monday night with Dills going yes.
It's so true.
I unfortunately have to bail super quick right now, but good show, everybody.
Run, you poon. Run
well
to your
done.
sportsy game.
And chat room, I will talk to you.
And he's out.
I have to run too, dude. I started a new job today, which involves an hour and a half commute and an 8 a.m. start time. So it is currently 1 a.m. and I have to be awake in like 5 hours. So I gotta go.
Fine. You get the blamed in the tweet as to why there's no after show this week.
Yeah, I know. It's totally my fault. But we also ran long. So as long as we don't run long next week, I can stay. But I really gotta cut it at 1 a.m.
Fair enough.
All right. I'll talk to you later, man.
See you guys.
Bye, chat room.
Bye, chat room. I'm making a funny face.